This is PFF, Linnell, not kind to the secondary.
No, they are not. So there are only we talked about the running back ranking not being kind to Washington. PFF's isn't either. Let's just start with the top two secondaries of the National Football League. I don't disagree with it, especially after the additions that these two teams have made. Baltimore comes in at number one, and when you consider that they drafted the top safety in the draft of Malachi Starks out of Georgia, they brought in Jair Alexander from the Green Bay Packers. They already have Kyle Hamilton and Marlon Humphrey, who are considered, top of their league or top of the league at their position. It's a good group. It's a veteran
They're
group.
unbelievable.
They're
it's
unbelievable.
Humphrey, it's Starks, and Kyle Hamilton's probably one of the best 15, 20 players in the NFL. They drafted a guy in the first round last year that we never even talk about.
Exactly.
Just because the other guys are so damn good.
Talk
Yeah,
about
that's
Nate
the best
Wiggins out of
secondary.
Clemson.
That's right. That's the best secondary in the NFL. No problem.
Number two is the Kansas City Chiefs. Trent McDuffie has been, one of the top 4 or 5 corners in the NFL over the past several years. I like the youngins that they have as well. They drafted Noah Williams out of Cal. He, to me, was one of the best young corners in the draft as well. So that's a legitimate group. Denver comes in 3 with Pat Surtain. Obviously, you get that. They drafted Jahdae Barron in the draft as well. The Texans, I love the Texans. I wanted Kamari Lassiter here last year. He is playing opposite Derek Stingley, and that group has been elite as well. Well, now go down to the bottom of the list because that's where the Commanders are at. Danny, there are 4 secondaries, rather, that PFF says is worse than Washington's. He has the Dolphins, Panthers, Cowboys, Raiders. You don't want to be in that company. He has Washington ranked 28th, talking about PFF, and they start off saying this, a shot in the arm to you. The Commanders' secondary was one of the worst in the NFL in 2024, yet the team still came 1 win away from a Super Bowl appearance. So they didn't like the secondary last year. They clearly don't like it this year as they come in ranked 28th in the National Football League. I'm not going to say that I think they're 28th. I think at their worst, they could be that. But I think if everything goes to plan, if Marshon Lattimore is healthy and back to his, former Pro Bowl form, then I think it'll be good. If Trey Amos can show that, hey, despite there being a lot of volatility with young corners, if he can show that, hey, I can hold down one side of the island, then you'll feel good. I think the key part of this secondary that I think is going to be critical, how this transition works out, Mikey Sainristil going back to the slot. Now, I know all of you think that Mikey Sainristil is the greatest corner in the National Football League, but the reality is when he was playing in the slot in the first month of the season, he gave up the most touchdowns in the National Football League. Now, I know Washington faced some pretty damn good wide receivers during that first month plus of the year, but him in the slot, him moving back to the slot, is not some foregone conclusion that everything is going to be peaches and roses. I think he could play. I think he helps the run defense by playing in the slot because he is just hell on wheels and isn't scared of anything. But if his transition back to the slot does not go as planned, if Marshon Lattimore isn't back to that Pro Bowl form, then what is this group?
So I think the one element that people aren't really ready for or seeing is when you look at Jonathan Jones and Mikey Sainristil, I think they're really similar pieces.
Me too.
So I think when, for the sake of argument, you motion somebody into the slot trying to get a better matchup, you don't have to worry about that because so sometimes it'll be Jones in the slot, sometimes it'll be Sainristil. I don't think they're just going to go mechanically, this is where you are. You are a boundary corner here, you're a boundary there. I think there'll be multiple. That some of that diversity of the position, I think it is there. I like Amos a lot as a selection. I was all in on that. I thought that was smart. He was someone that I wanted, was thrilled that he fell to them or fell. Like this to me is the alpha, the omega, and everything in between. Last year it was Benjamin St. Juste. It was Michael Davis. It was Benjamin St. Davis. It was Michael St. Juste. And it stunk.
Yeah.
It wasn't good enough, period, end of story. They got destroyed. So everybody is focused so much on the run defense. And I get that. They gave up a lot of rushing yards to people. My point always was when they said, okay, we're going to stop the run, and they committed lots of resources to it, they did. The Baltimore game to me is a microcosm of who they are in the series. If everyone remembers the Baltimore game, here's what happened. They said, not Derrick Henry, not in the first half. Not going to happen. So Baltimore tried a couple times. They got stuffed, and they said, okay, Zay Flowers, go 9 for $1 trillion. And they had no answer. He ran around every one of those guys.
Including Mikey Sainristil.
And he was open.
Yeah.
So this is, God, we're getting killed by this. So let's actually try to cover somebody. And then Derrick Henry ran for 190,000 yards in the second half. Numbers approximate. That to me is who they were. They improved that to me by going, let's beef up the defensive front. What about the rest of it? We beefed up the defensive front, and that's the response, and that's the answer. It's counting on Lattimore to be something that he was not last year. The rest of the league, PFF, whoever, is looking at it the way I'm looking at it going, nope, that's a mistake. I still, annoyed's not the right word. This group, as you said earlier in the show, we're talking about something else, has certainly earned the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
In years past, when I would look at Marty and Ron, and their incompetence, when I would go, okay, I don't see this. And when I would say I don't see it, it would turn out bad most of the time.
Yeah.
This is one I don't see. And when I said that last year about their offense,
the offensive
line, and when I can't believe they're going into the season with this receiving core until they signed Noah Brown, someone that was cast off of a playoff team. It was cut. It was basically a training camp cut.
Yeah.
That became their number 2. I can't believe this is your prize rookie quarterback. That's what you're doing. Worked out pretty good, didn't it? So that, to me, buys a lot of credibility. But in years past, when I go, I don't see it the way you see it, and it turns out your team's going to lose a lot and give up a ton of stuff, I don't get it. To me, this was a golden opportunity to go get Traveris Ward, Carlton Davis, Paulson Adebo, DJ Reed, Brandon Stevens, Darius Slay. I mean, that's an expensive one, a 1-year deal. But you could have upgraded that position, still drafted a rookie to be the heir apparent, but they didn't do that. They went middle tier, which is where they love to shop to get some value. They went middle tier Jonathan Jones, second rounder Trey Amos, and it's putting a lot of the eggs in Marshon Lattimore's basket.
It is, and I also think it's putting a big onus on this front four. Because if you think about it, you were talking about investing money in a Carlton Davis or a Traveris Ward. Well, their big money free agent signing was Javon Kinlaw. Now, we could argue till the cows come home about whether or not that's going to pay off or come to fruition. But to your point, I can agree with you when I say, money could have been better spent at the cornerback spot. But I think the reason it wasn't is a universal belief in that building, and this is where it goes back to what you're talking about, that Marshon Lattimore is going to get it right. I thought, he won me over, and I know clearly it doesn't take much to win me over if this won me over. When he spoke during mandatory minicamp and said, yeah, man, I wanted to be out there for my teammates last year. I was hurt. I was trying to play through an injury and show that I belonged. While it hurt the team in the short term, in the long term, I think it's a play that earns respect in the locker room and earns trust amongst the coaching staff. It gets you an attaboy from a radio host like me for playing through your injury. He can't be as bad as he was last year. When at times it was like, there's no way we gave up assets for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I give him the benefit of the doubt and want to believe that he was hurt. To your point, though, he is the linchpin in this secondary. Because if he can figure it out, it can hold down one half of the field. I can pick through Trey Amos, Jonathan Jones, and Mikey Samuelson to be my other outside corner. I worry about who's going to be stopping A.J. Brown, who lines up across from CeeDee Lamb, who lines up across from Malik Neighbors. When you're in this division, you need a bona fide number one corner, and Washington's thought process is that Marshon Lattimore is that. Whether they're right or not, we'll find out, sooner rather than later. But I happen to believe Marshon Lattimore will be good. The other part of this is the pass rush has got to get home. If they can generate a consistent pass rush without having to, send extra pieces out of the secondary, and you can have 7 in coverage at a time, then you'll be okay. But I know that's a big if.
No, it's a major thing. What did Lattimore say at OTAs? Do you remember? Oh, nothing. It was that. Anyway, so the big deal for me, I'm just doing his thing, is, again, if they're right and they're confident in him, because I said this at the time, it would have been a tough pill to swallow to move on from him, having given up a couple draft picks. And I get why they did. I endorsed the deal at the time. And we've gone through this a number of times this offseason, where the analogy I used, and I use this a bunch, so apologies if you're hearing it again, is if you ever watch Formula One or NASCAR or something like that, they're driving. They're really far along in the race, and they're going, oh, my God, we're way further ahead than we thought we'd be. We got a chance to win this thing. But we got a flat tire. Or the tire's about to blow. What do we do? And someone comes up next to you and going, I got a tire. You want to buy it?
Yeah.
That cost in that moment a little bit more than it would have cost in the offseason or totally otherwise. Agree. It was worth the risk to you to go, I need to buy this tire right now. Otherwise, I got no shot to win the race. So I'm gonna give it a go. I endorsed it. It made sense. I knew the risks. oft injured, hasn't been healthy in a long time, hasn't played a full season, hasn't been that all-pro in almost 4 years, calendar years wise. I got it. I endorsed the deal at the time. I saw him play, and I went, oh my God, they got a lemon. Oh my God, this is terrible. Now, if he plays great, because I haven't seen him do that. If he plays great and they're right, egg on my face, I'll apologize to whoever I have to apologize to. I just don't share the confidence they do in this one. And it doesn't sound like PFF does either. When you're looking at this secondary that, again, was one of the worst in the NFL last year, I'm the only one. I know I sound very Chris Russelling in here, where I saw this and no one else did, and I'm smart, you're stupid. Again, I'm not saying everyone's stupid, but you're all stupid. I know I'm doing a Russell bit here. Everybody was so concerned about the run defense. I went, it's the pass defense to me.
See,
it's the pass defense. It's their secondary is one of the worst in the sport. They knew that, which is why they basically said, we'd rather give up 8 on the ground than countless first downs through the air and touchdowns and otherwise. Kenny Pickett took out that double-pronged fork.
Oh my goodness.
And the vibrating knife and just carved their asses up once Jalen Hurts went down. Okay? Anybody who wanted to throw could throw. That was the deal. And so they were willing to give up some ground gains. Okay? So my point is, they didn't care about that all that much and went after to beef up that run defense. That was their strategy this offseason to improve every element of the defense, Linnell.
So the thing, and our pal Warren Sharp actually put this out. I'm trying to find it and get you the exact names. If you're making the argument that Danny's making, that the secondary should have been addressed more, should have been considered more of a problem spot, think about the quarterbacks they played down the stretch last year. It's not Ben DiNucci, Jake Haener, Kenny Pickett, a rookie Michael Penix getting his second ever start, Trey Lance. So I can make the argument that, they didn't play great quarterbacks last year, and it still wasn't all that good. You now give them this year's slate of quarterbacks, and you go, if it's not better, then it could get potentially sticky at that position. I know it's a separate conversation, but I do believe their pass rush has a real opportunity to take some of the load off of the secondary. I think if they can get pressure with 4 and 5 and I have to commit 8 guys to rushing the quarterback, then maybe the extra guys in coverage help you out. Washington blitzed at like a top 8 rate last year in the NFL. So they were one of the most blitz-happy teams in the league. Why? Because Dante Fowler and the quietest 10.5 sacks you'll ever see, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. They did not consistently get pressure just by sending 4. I think the goal and the hope is that you get a little bit better pass rush from the guys that you have up front, and then the guys in the back end help you out. But a fan would say, well, they didn't really improve the pass rush. No, they didn't.
They probably took a step back.
To
your point, by the way, the 5th highest blitz percentage in the NFL last year, which tells you can't get home with 4.
Yeah.
It's time to do this right here, my friend. We got the poll of the day. Great Nanny's poll of the day is presented by Metropolitan Moving and Storage. Local, long distance, residential, or commercial. 3 decades of best-in-class service and experience. The poll posted right now, 106.7 The Fan. Pro Football Focus rank the Commanders secondary 28th headed into training camp. What's your confidence level in the local 53 secondary as currently constructed? Very confident, somewhat confident, kind of concerned, highly concerned. I said highly concerned, which may be an exaggeration, maybe too far, but that's where I'm at. PFF's got you 28th. Not to say that it's gospel, right? But this to me was the weakness. I am hopeful Trey Amos does what Mikey Sanders did last year. And I'm looking on paper here, Linnell, and I'm going, okay, last year at this time, Noah Igbenogany was going to get huge snap counts. It was going to be Michael Davis. It was going to be Benjamin St-Juste. It's not that anymore. They're different names. I would take Jonathan Jones over Michael Davis.
Yeah.
I would take Trey Amos over, again, Michael Davis or maybe, again, we don't know, but I think over St-Juste. The idea of Benjamin St-Juste played well at points for this team. I know no one wants to hear that, but he did it at various times.
I hear that.
With some of the strength and length and bothering people. Got a little handsy.
That's my worry with Trey Amos.
That's my worry
when you have young corners coming into the NFL and you think about what he thrived at in the SEC, it was bump and run. It was being handsy. It was being physical. Training camp is going to be big for him. It would not surprise me, and I know it would drive fans nuts, if your starting cornerback tandem week 1 is Mikey
Jones and Lattimore.
On the outside.
I think it's exactly
and then Mikey on the inside.
But you're going to live in nickel 90% of the time. Not 90. 78% of the time.
See, that's the thing that I go back and forth with too. They didn't want to play nickel that much last year, but the Jordan McGee injury really stopped them from playing their base more than they wanted to, where they would be in that 3 linebacker set where it's Luvu, Wagner, and then McGee.
We might fundamentally disagree there. I don't think they wanted to do that. I think that was going to be something they did. In other words, to them, Jeremy Chin doing both.
Right.
Now they got Will Harris trying to do both. Again, I don't know about.
I have no confidence in that. Yeah. I'm just saying.
And we haven't even gotten to that.
Yeah.
Right.